When you're sitting down to decide whether a new monitor is worth the out-of-pocket cost, the first thing I hear from anyone in the market is, will it actually make my work easier, or am I just paying for a pretty picture? That's the exact question I'm trying to answer today. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent a few weeks comparing a handful of 27-inch 4K panels that claim professional-grade color, and I've also read through a lot of user feedback about what matters once the box is opened. What you'll get in the next few minutes is a knowledge look at how the ASUS ProArt PA27 UCGE behaves in real-world workflows, where its strengths really shine, and where you might still end up with buyer's remorse. The biggest hesitation people have with any high-end monitor is the fear of overpaying for features they'll never use, or worse, missing a crucial capability that forces a second purchase later. In the case of a professional-grade display, you're usually balancing color accuracy, connectivity, and ergonomics against a price tag that can easily eclipse a decent laptop. If you've ever tried to calibrate a monitor with an external device, you know how fiddly that can get, and a built-in solution sounds promising if it actually delivers. On the flip side, the monitor market is saturated with HDR claims that often translate to brighter whites but no real dynamic range. So the real question is, does this ASUS ProArt model give you measurable time savings and confidence in color work, or is it a collection of buzzwords that look good on paper? Let's start by looking at the category itself. A 27-inch 4K panel is a sweet spot for photo editors and video creators because it gives you a full 3840 by 2160 canvas without demanding a monstrous GPU. What matters most for those users is a wide color gamut that can cover DCI-P3, accurate gamut curves, and a reliable way to keep the display calibrated over months of use. For a graphic designer who needs to match brand colors across print and web, an off-B 5% shift in saturation can mean a costly redo. In a typical office setting, those same specifications are nice to have but rarely essential. So the ProArt's promise of 98% DCI-P3 coverage and a built-in colorimeter directly addresses the core need of the professional crowd, while it might be overkill for someone who just watches YouTube and checks email. Who should seriously consider this monitor? First, photographers who shoot RAW and spend a lot of time tweaking exposure, white balance, and color grading. The built-in colorimeter lets you run an auto-calibration routine without pulling out a separate X-Rite or data color device, which can shave a few minutes off a daily setup. Second, video editors working in Rec 2020 or DCI-P3 workflows will appreciate the combination of 4K resolution and the 160Hz refresh capability, which, while not a gaming-focused feature, reduces motion blur when scrubbing timelines at high speeds. Third, UI/UX designers who need to see their work in both sRGB and a wider gamut will benefit from the monitor's ability to switch color profiles on the fly. Finally, anyone who runs a dual laptop workstation, think a MacBook for design and a Windows PC for development, will love the auto KVM switch that lets you toggle inputs with a single button, effectively turning two machines into one seamless workspace. On the other side of the coin, this isn't the right pick for casual gamers who prioritize ultra-low input lag, adaptive sync, or a high refresh panel tuned for competitive titles. The ProArt's 160Hz panel is still an IPS panel, which means it can't match the response times of a dedicated gaming VA or TN screen, and the lack of G-Sync/FreeSync support could introduce tearing in fast-paced games. If you're a home office worker whose daily tasks are spreadsheets, video calls, and occasional web browsing, you'll likely be fine with a cheaper 1080p or 1440p monitor that doesn't carry a professional color guarantee. The price point of the ProArt is also a factor. It sits well above the average office monitor, so unless you can leverage its color accuracy and connectivity, you might be better off allocating that budget toward a better GPU or a dedicated calibration device. Now, let's walk through a typical desk setup with this unit. The monitor arrives in a sleek, recyclable cardboard box, nothing flashy, but the packaging is sturdy enough to protect the 27-inch panel. When you pull it out, you immediately notice the thin bezels and the subtle ASUS logo on the back. The stand offers tilt, swivel, and height adjustments, but it's not a fully articulating arm. You'll have to keep the monitor relatively flat against the wall if you need a portrait orientation. The ports are where the real convenience lives, A USB-C cable can deliver 96 watts of power, video, and data all at once, meaning you can connect a laptop and power it without a separate charger. Two downstream USB-A ports let you plug a mouse or a USB hub, and there's a DisplayPort for a secondary graphics card.